Hi, everyone. Welcome to Rere's Raw and Uncut. Today, we're diving into a topic that sparks a lot of debate. Can a man be secure in a relationship if his woman makes more than him? We're talking about money, ego, societal expectations, and what true security really means in love. I'll be asking my friends some questions, and I do have my co host and my dear guests, ATL. Hi, ATL. How are you? I hope you're prepared to bring it for the men because I don't think men are secure with their women making more than them. Ooh. But hey, this is the debate of the sexes tonight. Let's dive into it. Grab your wine, your liquor. I don't care what you're drinking tonight. Let's have some fun.
Drinking Hennessy tonight.
And we're going to start.
Cheers.
Cheers to our first episode. Now, my first question is, do you think it's possible that men can be secure in a relationship if their women are making more than them financially?
Definitely. I think that it's all based on ego, right? So if you and your fiance, wife, girlfriend, if you guys are on the same page, it shouldn't matter. I think that if you put a lot of ego into it, then it should matter. I think it becomes the respect of the relationship, right? The data shows that men do make more than women, but today's environment, you do have a lot of women that are much more going after what we call the bag, being fully educated, bachelor's, master's, some getting the doctorate, and of course, the data shows that especially African American women, they're spearheading the
I was waiting for you to say that part. African American women are the highest educated women in the world.
right. But with that said, they're at being the highest educated in the world or in America, the gap, the salary gap is still a huge gap. I think that they're not basically being paid for what the work that they are currently doing, but that's a topic for a different section. I think that if you're in a relationship, committed relationship, respectful relationship, whether you're married, whether you're partners, you know, I think that if the woman is making more money, um, for a man to feel less masculine, I think is ego. I think that you have to understand that it's two people that are building together for a better cause. Unless if it's a situation whereas and which it could happen sometimes that the woman may be able, maybe her ego may be a little bit high, which I doubt. But I think that a lot of times when the flip side, when men are making a lot of money, I think we carry a lot of high ego. That's not to say that women egos could not be, could be high too as well. They could be, you know, like a tug of war, right? He could feel less of a man, especially if he's home and she's basically being the breadwinner because quote unquote the world today and the world prior to this is the man is the breadwinner and but women have come a long way. So I just think it would be ego for me if I'm in a relationship and my wife, my fiance, my girl's making more than me. I think we work together as one, work together as a team. I don't think it should be one person should be less of a person or less of a human being be due to the fact that one person is making more than the other person. I think if you have that type of relationship, I think you guys can build together and grow together. I think you guys can um, buy a lot of assets together, invest together, right? It's just basically being one. So I think if you put egos aside and you put all the social media gigos, nonsense aside, I think, you know, they definitely could make it together.
Of course. I had a quick question based off of what you said. You just mentioned that they should basically combine forces. In that combining forces, do you mean like joint finances? Especially when it comes to investments and everything. Do you mean that even if she's making more, all finances need to be combined for them to be greater together for him to like get caught up to her financial level, or what do you mean by that?
No. I think that if you're investing, you can invest separately. I always think that you should have your your finances separate. I think once you decide to combine finances, it can be, it's a 50-50 chance that, you know, God forbid, let's say you go through a divorce, that, once the finances are together, combined, you will basically have to split everything. Not to say there are some states that once you're married, you're married in in matrimony, whereas everything becomes one. And then there are some states that are, you know, the divorce um, laws are a little bit different. But to your question, I don't think that if the woman or the wife in a relationship, the woman in the relationship is making, let's say, 100,000, right? Everybody into this whole six figures nonsense, and the guy is making 50. That doesn't mean that she should basically, put money in to match him. No, but if they're doing business together, then I think that they can come together and join forces, whether they're buying properties, um, and or buying a business.
I'm gonna jump in and knock you off your toes for a second.
Sure.
You're self-made. Can you date a woman? Yes. You're a self-made millionaire. Can you date a woman if you're making 50,000, she's making 200,000?
Of course.
And your ego, your pride, nothing will be involved.
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with equal pride. Because, listen, if I already understand the game, right? And because you have to understand sometimes, like, listen, although, like you said, self-made, right? But you could be making less. It's not how much you make, it's how much you invest and how much you save.
Correct.
I think that's where we get misconstrued, the whole aspect of it, because you have doctors out there that are making, shitload of money. They make a lot of money, $300,000-$400,000, but they have a lot of debt, whether it's medical debt, student loans debt. They have to pay into malpractice insurance. Some maybe get malpractice lawsuits. It all depends, right? So, and I know many doctors that, they it's just a degree, right? You have the degree, but then you're spinning wheels like a hamster, because you're trying to make ends meet, because obviously majority of them are living way above their means. Not to say that they don't have a lot of successful doctors out there, but again, it shouldn't matter if you understand what you guys are positioned to do, right? It's supposed to be, in a relationship, it's supposed to be the neck and the head. One can't move without the other. And I think that's basically what a lot of times we're missing, because we're
I do think that, but I do think it's easier said than done, because the way society makes it seem that a man have to be the provider, and the only way he's a provider if he's making more, because that's what we're taught as women. Men have to provide, men have to protect, he has to do this, he have to do that.
I think that's how we taught overall, right? In most societies, well, the man is the breadwinner. He goes out, he comes in. But again, he making $50,000, he could still be the breadwinner, right? Because he may not be able to save, but he can still come in, and it depends on where he's living, pay rent, pay our mortgage, pay the light, pay the gas. She can chip in with food. But again, it all depends on where you are living. If you're living in a state whereas the income, like California, New York, all these states that is very, very expensive, then obviously, you have to combine resources, right? Especially if you have kids. You know, Private school can be expensive. Daycare can be expensive. So you just have to find ways and means how to combine resources. Like you said, it's easier said than done, because how it is portrayed in society. Like you go on some of these Instagram posts, and you listen to some of, you ask a female, say, what type of guy you're looking for, and you listen to them, and they say, well, I'm looking for a guy that makes six figures, right? Making six figures is two things I think they're missing, right? You have six figures and you have six figures. In New York, you can make six figures, but you have to.
It feels like 50,000.
Right.
It's like 60,000. Correct.
Six figures six figures is two things. The six figures is either revenue or net. If you're netting six figures, it's different. If you're making $100,000 in New York and you're on a W-2 salary, that doesn't mean that you're taking home 100.
100,000.
You're taking
Correct.
$40,000 based on every taxes and everything is out. 6,000. So saying I need 100,000, making a guy that's making $100,000. Again, it all depends on which state you are in and in reference to the taxes. So in reality, if you want a guy or a girl to make 100,000, it should be net, right? So you make 100,000 net. That means you're supposed to be making like about $160,000 a year, right? So that's basically what the conversation should be. But a lot of times it's just we hear these things and it's easy for us to say, hey, I gotta make 100,000. But in reality, if you look at the data, 100,000 is not really a lot of money. $1 million today is not really a lot of money either, right?
Correct.
It can take you to where you want to get to, but if you're a type of person who's gonna travel, buy a lot of
I
stuff.
just think it's not what you make, what you do with what you make.
Yeah,
And one thing you have taught me was investment.
Yeah, you have to invest wisely. And you can still, I always use as an example. Sometimes you could still wear all the fancy stuff, and but a lot of times what people don't realize, they prefer to buy the the fancy stuff first, right? There's a rule you call I think the 50 the 50/30/20 rule, whereas it breaks down. That's for another topic. That's a financial topic. But a lot of times people don't follow those rules. They just basically follow, well, hey, I need to get this, I need to get this, and I need to get that, and they forget to
Get important.
Right. So like I always tell, I always say I grew up on this
So
time.
that's what it comes back to for me.
Mm-hmm.
When a man is being insecure of his woman make more, even if a woman or a man, whoever makes more, I think even if you're making less, is what you do with what you're making.
Yeah, I listen. It all depends on how you
But just to make sure we're closing out the questions, I think in conclusion, like it's all about first if he's secure in his masculinity.
Correct.
If he's secure in his masculinity, it doesn't matter how much you make. And then obviously
that is correct, but which I do find hard nowadays.
It is hard.
Because a man would say that he is secure in his masculinity, but deep down inside, I think the ego and the pride is going to kill him to know, like, yo, what am I doing wrong?
That he's not secure.
And but he's telling you that he's secure.
But another thing too is you should never tell him. Why are you telling a man how much you made?
But now we're in a marriage. If you're in a relationship, I think it's different. You don't need to know how much I make. I care less. As long as you can take care of yourself, that's all that matters to me. But when you get married, two becomes one. I've never been married, but I do know. Two
becomes one. Our financial advisor just told us to keep our finances separate. So
everybody is different in a marriage.
Okay, hold on a second.
Separate, then that means he's still providing, taking care of the house. Maybe I'm pitching in with the daycare. Maybe I'm pitching in with the groceries. But it's basically, are you supporting my money is my money, your money is your money? Because if that's the case, a man never needs to know how much you make.
But then that's the problem because
listen. Okay, so here's the easy way to put it this way, right? You always have to have 4 accounts, right? Both male and female. You have your personal savings, you have your personal checking, and then you have maybe a joint savings and a joint checking. That joint checking is between you and your partner, whereas you guys pay all
correct,
right? Then you have a joint savings, whereas if you guys need to go on vacation, etc., right? Whatever you do, then you would have your own checking account, whereas you want to go and buy, shoes, bag, clothes. You just want to go hang out with the girls, do brunch. That's basically your checking, right? But that doesn't mean to her point. That doesn't mean that you have to come and give your check and say, hey, put this in this account, whatever.
I didn't say give your check. I just said two becomes one.
Two becomes one, but it doesn't have to be financially.
It should be everything because we're married to you.
So he stays the provider. You stay helping where you need to help. We put money that we need to put. Maybe we agree on a percentage.
But remember,
maybe the percentage is 40%. We'll put 40% into the joint savings every month. We'll put 20% into the joint checking. My money, the rest is mine.
But how is he still going to be the provider? I'm making more. Remember, the whole
topic. Making doesn't matter.
It
Okay, let
doesn't
me.
matter because I'm
It
making
shouldn't matter.
200,000. My man making 50,000.
So bring what
I
you
don't
can.
want my man to be paying the mortgage.
So
that's gonna kill him.
So you
I'll
want to
pay
pay the mortgage
because I'm
okay,
making
so then you
more.
pay the mortgage.
So you're telling me if your man is making $50,000 a year, you're making $200,000. You still want your man to pay the
Once
mortgage?
I come into his life, he should be motivated to find a way to make more money. That should be his wait. I need to find a way to make more money.
But
so
if that
he
didn't
needs
happen
to be
at the moment,
it needs to happen the next day. He needs to find a way to fix to get motivated.
No, I don't agree with that. I
All right,
don't.
so
You met him at $50,000.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
So
that
I'm
he's
going
not
to
motivated to get it.
exactly. So I'm
But in the meantime, I'm gonna take the more expensive bill.
in the
more
meantime,
expensive
we're not
road.
sharing bills. We're gonna be dating until you get to that level where we're ready to share expenses.
So basically, you're only telling me you're dating a man that's matching your income.
So listen.
I'm dating a man that's matching my
That's
income.
exactly what you're saying.
I'm gonna marry a man that matches my income. So while we're dating, we'll figure it out and we'll help you get to where you need to get to. But we're not combining forces at a point in which it's so off balance.
See, for me, I wouldn't mind if I make more than my man.
Forever.
It doesn't matter.
Forever.
I think love. We have a price tag on love, and I don't.
Put that left in a
So let's go back. Okay,
I don't have a price
okay.
tag.
So let's take a look at this, right? Let's go back to let me see. Okay, let's go back to our parents, right? Let's go to our parents, right? We're from different parts of the world, right? The man was the provider, right? They never looked at paychecks.
Correct.
Most of the times, the man would.
But most of the time, the women didn't work. We were at home.
Right. The man would come home on a Friday or whatever.
He bring the paycheck, give it to the wife.
Give it to the wife, and she will basically, secure the home, cook, buy groceries, pay all the bills, and he's gone. He's done. For some reason, so it had shown that it worked well at that time or during that phase, right? Today we're in a different environment. We have to understand that
because social media is
African-American
telling us that we have to date a man that's making this, that's making that, that's
hold on
doing
a second,
this.
Right? African American women are very progressive. They're making more money than our African American men. African American men today, and in the past, has not bridged the gap of where the black women are today. They're very educated. They have their own business. They're pushing to do more and more. They increase. They're going back to school, getting advanced degrees, and our men are just stable. That's the reality. Not all, but some. That doesn't mean that you have to have a degree to be successful.
I was just gonna say that
I have a lot of I have a lot of friends of mine who don't have a degree. I have a degree, but they're making a lot of money because they decide to find a niche, whether it was they get into real estate, and it took them skyrocketed, right? So they didn't really need a degree because they're well off. But coming from other parts of the world, obviously for us, we have to have that paper in the degree. We didn't come to America to.
We got to work hard.
We have to work harder. Our parents is going to push for us to get bachelor's, master's, but it all depends. I feel moving forward. I don't really want to get off a topic. I think it comes down to the question: does a college degree really necessary? Because you have that
it depends on
trade
what
schools, right? You have plumbers.
It's necessary.
Right, plumbers, electricians that don't have a college degree, but they have the necessary certificate to be. If you're an attorney, a medical professional, if you're a surgeon, a doctor, obviously you have to have the degree to go back to school. But let's just come back on the topic, right? Both you guys are right. I think that when you're looking at it to an aspect of, she said the next day she's able to try to help him, motivate him, right? And nothing is wrong with that. I think she's correct, because a lot of times if you're in a relationship with a man and he knows that you're making so much money, his motivation is going to drop a little bit. He doesn't want to push, right? And
he's not gonna make $100,000.
No, hold on.
I didn't say
Renita,
that
hold
my
on.
man ever
Renita,
need to
hold.
push. I am
Yes.
saying if I'm making more at the moment,
right,
I don't mind.
No. You said if you're making more, you don't mind paying the mortgage.
But I don't
And
mind taking the bigger bills.
Why
But
are you
she can pay
taking
the mortgage.
bigger bills in marriage?
I am making $200,000. He's making $50,000.
And I'm saying, so you knew that while he was dating. I'm saying you guys should have figured that out while you were dating before then you go and cross into marriage.
So let me ask you this: since society, we want equal rights and we want to be equal as the men. What if a man say that about you? He's making $200,000. He met you. You guys had a conversation. You're only making $80,000, and he don't want to date you just because you're making $80,000.
Well, first of all, that's his prerogative. If he decides he doesn't want to date anyone who's making less, that's his prerogative, and I can't say anything against that. Secondly, women and men, I don't believe that I've never been part of the fighting for the equal rights. I feel like what we're fighting for is a little bit different. The goal is you should have the ability to make as much as a man, but it's not your expectation to make that much at the end of the day because he is still the provider. So whether you bring that 200K and he's bringing 300, it doesn't matter. His role is to provide. So whatever I'm bringing is irrelevant to you.
So his money is our money, but your money is your money.
You summed it up perfectly. That doesn't mean that you can't step in and like help with the bill or something. He lost his. That doesn't mean you're not a support system. That doesn't mean you can't. You're not. But the responsibility of providing that mortgage is such a heavy. Where you're sleeping is a mortgage, like the roof over your head. That responsibility is a man's, whether he's making 50K less than you or he's making 100K less than you. That responsibility is his.
So let me ask you a question.
Over your head, that responsibility is his.
So let me ask you a question then, right? Let's say he's making 50 to your point and you're making 200 and you're saying the responsibility of the mortgage is his. I somewhat agree with that. So if he's paying the mortgage, let's say the mortgage is, he's making 50, the mortgage like about 1,500 a month.
1,500.
Right, let's say that. And you have the utility bills. Are you okay paying the utility bills then?
I'm okay paying the utility bills.
Oh, so
the fundamental aspect of where our roof is and where we're sleeping, you need to, if you can't afford to pay the mortgage, then I think you need to work on your priorities. Maybe your relationship is not where your priorities need to be right now. You need to be focused on how else to make more money. At the end of the day, I'm not saying you can't support your man. No, I'm just saying that responsibility of a mortgage, where you lay your head every night. If you don't have somewhere to lay your head and you're sleeping next to a man, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to be upset. Like, why am I laying next? Like, what am I doing next to you? Like, you.
So you don't think he's a man at that point?
She think of him as less of a man, basically. Yes. No. Yeah.
It's okay to say that.
It's okay to say that.
It's raw and uncut. Say what you feel.
I don't want to say less of a man, but I'm going to come from a cultural aspect where we were always told you're in your parents' house until you're ready for marriage. And so after paying bride price and everything, first of all, the paying of bride price is you confirming to my parents that you can take care of me for life.
Okay, I missed what you said. Paying the what?
Bride price, like paying a bride price, like your dad.
You're talking. Okay, you're talking about paying like
bringing in
a dowry. A dowry.
Bringing in just like my culture, just being Ghanaian. I wouldn't. If you're already paying my bride price, you've already guaranteed my parents for life that you got me.
Yes.
At least for the aspect of food.
But do you realize this is 2025 and life is life?
Life is life, and that means I should stay at my parents' house. I'm not gonna leave my parents' house to come and join you sleep on the street. I'm gonna stay at my parents' house.
So let me ask you a question.
Ready for us to go.
I know a woman.
She's right.
That is the breadwinner.
No,
her husband does not make nowhere close, and she doesn't mind.
That is fine as long as he still has enough money to take care of the basics.
She still let him feel like he's the provider. He's masculine. She still give him that with all the money.
So what I'm trying to say is, if I make 200K, my man makes 100K. I don't mind that I'm making 200, 100. The responsibility of the food and the shelter is still his. I don't mind using my 200 to help contribute to taking care of maybe his mom or his family or the utility or blah, blah, blah. But the responsibility of the house and the food and what we will eat, it is his. He needs to go and search for that daily bread. He needs to go and search for the daily bread.
But what is wrong with taking care of the groceries?
Do you know how annoyed you will be when you come home from work? You've worked all day. You come home and you don't want to bomb. So as long as he's working, no one's knocking him for that.
Okay.
But he needs to be able to make enough to cover the roof, the shelter, and whatever we're eating. Otherwise, leave me at my parents' house. Come and visit me on the weekends. I'm staying at my parents'.
Oh, we getting spicy.
That's nonsensical. If you don't have enough money to take me from my parents' house, then leave me at my parents.
So I'm going to ask you this next question.
No, hold on a second. Hold on. Let me clarify something. Oops, shit. Oh, let me just clarify something, right? So you're talking. You said you're Ghanaian, right?
Of course.
Right. So you're saying the bride's price, the bride's price, is that the same as a dowry? That's what they call it.
It's similar, but it's a bit. Yes, it's a bit. It's. I guess it's similar. Yes.
Okay, similar to dowry. Okay, got you. Okay, I got you. So and I understand. I hear you. Culturally, I get it. Like, it makes sense. Why would you leave your parents' house if the man is not ready to take care of you? If he's ready to come and pay.
But we're living in a different society right now.
No. We live in a different society, but culturally it stays the same. They don't change the culture.
Yes.
That culturally things stays the same.
Not at your parents' house.
Yeah, culturally it stays the same.
If you can't take my apartment bill, leave me alone.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I guess you'd prefer him to come and buy her whole entire apartment building, So listen, I don't know, but society. This is a problem too as well. I think we focus more on what society thinks than more what culturally it should be, and a lot of times this is why you see social media. You see, this whole thing is a setup, right? Because no other groups of people speaks about this six figures, speak about this, speak about that.
I agree.
We got caught up into this whole aspect, and what they're doing is separating the black family, right? Because they're progressing, doing what they got to get done, and we are still focusing on this whole six figures. If I'm making 60, you're making 60, that's six figures.
That's 120.
That's six figures, right? You can buy a home, right? And you don't have to literally join forces, join accounts, but you could literally buy a home and said, hey, let's come together and we can pay the bills. I've heard situations where as females say, well, I'm not going 50-50 with no man, but you prefer to pay.
That was my next question.
Right?
Wait, you said you're not going. Can you repeat that part? You said the females are saying they're not going 50-50 with no man, but then
they're paying 100% of everything, the rent
without the man.
Without the man.
And I do think we're gonna have a difference in opinion this one.
Listen,
because life is lifing. And it depends. I don't mind going 50-50.
So
it depends
going
on
back
income.
to the example of the 60-60, 120, I don't believe it's 120. If it's 60-60, we have 60. Let me tell you why we have 60. If I make 60 and you make 60, the income of the household is 60,000. You should be able to also plan your life, especially early in marriage, on one person's income. I wouldn't go and get a house. Let's say we combined our net and our net is 120. So maybe now we can afford a mortgage. That's like probably like a 2,200 mortgage. So maybe like a 300K home. We wouldn't go get a 300K home just because both of our incomes combined, we can have a nice 300K home. If you build your finances like that, what happens when he loses his job? Now you're only on 60. And now that you're only on 60, the lifestyle that you guys joined to live, you can't afford it. I would rather build a life off of his 60 and whatever I'm making is supplemental.
So here's my response to that. So what you can do, instead of buying a home to live in, you buy a rental property. So if anyone loses their job, you have rental income coming in. That's how you do it. In reality, your first home should basically be able to be either a multifamily, whereas you're receiving some sort of income and you're living on one floor, right? I lived in a basement and I used to rent the top 3 floors. So you have to understand what it is to do.
So you trying to tell me ATL did mine backwards because mine wasn't a multifamily.
No.
First.
Well, I spoke to you differently on that aspect, and that's for another day. But you were, New York is a little bit different, right? New York was a little bit different. When you first bought your property, you were all the way out, I think, in a different state, which was a little bit not like crazy like New York. But to to her point in reference to if you're making 66 and 120 60, I do understand it to a point. Whereas if either parties lose their job, it's still 60. But if you have the opportunity to buy a rental property, it's not still 60 or 120 because you have rental income coming in. And what you can do, you can buy a duplex and live on one floor and rent out the other floor, and you get income coming in. So either which direction you go, whether or not someone loses a job, you have that income coming in.
To cover.
Right. So that's what it is. But
what is the likelihood that in this current market, a young couple who is starting out is going to have the ability to buy a duplex? I think that is very, very, very low, considering unless you're talking about just buying a regular single family and just renting out your basement. What if I don't want to live that life? What if I want to host? I want to have my basement ready to I don't want to live in a multi-family. But what's the reality of being able to buy a duplex so early on in a relationship?
But what he's saying is the same amount of money you're going to spend to get that big home, you can put it into getting a duplex.
You can buy a duplex. You can still buy a duplex and basically rent out a floor, and you live on one floor, right? That doesn't mean that you're renting it out to someone who has a whole family with kids or whatever. Sometimes you can rent it out to, let's say, a professional, right? A doctor who is stationed at the hospital, but he lives in a different state. And, he comes, spend some time, he or she comes, spend some time. And, it's like, you call it, it's like basically similar to an Airbnb short-term rental. So, that's the aspect of how you can do it. Again, I doesn't want to be sidetracked and make it like a real estate type.
Yes, on this house. We know that's what you do for a living.
So I just want to make sure that we keep it to what it is, right? So let's come back. So
let's go back to 50-50. So right. There, you're telling me you're never doing 50-50 with a man. In this current life, you want a man, life is life then. You're never going 50-50. You don't care what the circumstances are. You're not going 50-50.
The only way in which I would go 50-50 is if we are secured in a marriage and a circumstance.
I'm talking about a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. I'm talking about you're married.
This is only marriage. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. You should have said that because that changes a lot of my answers to things. I would only go 50-50 in a marriage. I feel like the thing with marriage, though, especially when it comes to finances, is you can't always be... the main answer is no. I wouldn't go 50-50.
Why?
I would go 50-50 if the circumstances have changed. I'm always prepared. I'm always ready to support.
I want to hear each one of your response on why and why not. And I have my response of why I wouldn't mind. It depends on the circumstance, like you said, but I'll give you my circumstance.
I would let our gentleman here go first.
So let me ask a question, right? Do you have older siblings?
I do.
Are they married or not married?
They are.
Okay. What are they? Are they in a relationship whereas they're 50-50 or no?
I have siblings that are doing different combinations. I have a sister who is more financially stable than her husband, and she's basically taking all the expenses.
I made my point from earlier.
And it's not working. Is it working for them? It's not
hold
working
on,
for them.
Hold on.
Let
her finish.
Keep going, sis.
Let her finish.
Keep going, sis.
So, yes, okay. I have a sibling who's doing 100-0 with a man.
Why is that? Okay, let's stop. Why is that? Is he not working?
He's working, but right now I would say his finances, they're not able to cover they can cover maybe his expenses, but the lifestyle that my sister is currently accustomed to, it's just not realistic. And then he's turning into a bum. I would say he was more motivated before he met my sister. He was doing okay, but I don't know if once he saw how much my sister was, he's slowly becoming.
But you said 100-0. I never said.
Let me ask you another question, right?
It wasn't 100-0 when they first started.
But now you're saying she's 100, he's 0.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, because that's what I believe.
I would never be 100-0.
No, that's what you say, because it never starts. It starts out like that. People who go
up. It doesn't.
It never starts out 100-0.
It doesn't start out like that.
It would never end like that, because the only end would be divorce court. If I have to go 100.
My sister, he was a lawyer. He not a lawyer, like I think a paralegal, so a little bit less than a lawyer. He was making good enough money. My sister was a little bit. She had more finances and things. And in the beginning, it was like, oh, okay, he would like do 1 or 2 sweet things, blah, blah, blah. The big problem came during the wedding, because that's when you really saw the differences of finances in terms of what my sister wanted versus he wanted. And I think that's when he really realized that, oh, my sister comes from like money. And after that, things have never really been the same. Like, he would start giving excuses to like the money that he was supposed to bring in. He would give excuses like, oh, he has this with his mom. He has to go take care of this. He has to go take care of.
Is he Ghanaian too as well?
He is.
Okay.
He is. And so the dynamics sort of slowly it doesn't happen overnight. It never happens overnight.
I get that part.
That is correct. She's right on that part.
The link, I think that's what I'm saying. Men naturally have that provider instinct. If you make the mistake and you watch that provider instinct become like dormant, like it becomes dormant in their life, you have ruined the relationship and you're going to suffer. You are going to suffer. So that is why you can't even let him know how much you are making. Like,
let me ask you another question. How old is he?
He's 34, 35. I just think that men that natural drive that men have to provide, you have to keep it going. Like, as a woman, my job is to keep you motivated to make more money.
Okay, so you said that he was not a lawyer, he's like basically like a paralegal, right?
Yes.
I think that so here's the thing, right? Most times when you in being a paralegal or working within the legal aspect of things, the next jump for you is to become a lawyer. You go to law school because you already understand it. Like, if you're doing like a physician assistant, the next thing you might become a doctor, etc. Right? A CNA nurse, you become a nurse. One of the things that you said, like, he had more motivation then than now, right? Why is that? And then you mentioned something too that, I want to make sure I quote you correctly.
During the wedding process, when he saw...
No, you said something about your sister living her lifestyle, right? So obviously, listen, everybody have their own lifestyle based on how they want it. So, and you got to understand there are a few things, and Renee and I a lot sometimes we go back on these aspects of things. I say, hey, I always use her as an example to a lot of people that come to me and say, well, oh, it's very hard for me to do this, very hard for me to do this. I say, hey, this girl have 2 kids, right? And she's doing all these different things. And then now they're gonna turn and tell me, well, oh no, maybe she's getting help, maybe she's not getting help. Let's move back to this. So you said her lifestyle, right? So don't you think, and it's just a question that I don't know why he pulled off a little bit. It could be a lot of stuff that we don't know, or maybe a lot of times when you're living a lifestyle and you're seeing that things are getting very, very hard, a lot of times we don't like to pull back, because it seems like if we
got to keep up.
Right. We got to keep up. If we pull back from the lifestyle, right? Because for me, I always tell people I can get away for a whole 6 months and come back. But during that time, a lot of times people say, well, okay, he fell off.
But that's your building season.
That's exactly. But people don't understand that, right? And we go through a lot of hiccups too as well. So do you think that maybe she should like fall back on her lifestyle? And I don't know what a lifestyle is. And I just be,
for me, I'm not gonna dim myself for a man. However,
true. But not dim.
However, I wanted to get back to you on this 50-50 because I'm not done with you. I don't mind going 50-50. Depends on how much we're making. If I'm making 100,000 and my husband's making 100,000, I don't mind going 50-50. In today's society and life, why would I want this man to be paying I'm guessing this is just the unselfish part of me. Maybe I just have a great heart, a good heart. If my man's making 100,000 and I'm making 100,000, there's nothing wrong with us going 50-50. Because if you're paying every single thing in this house, as women, we tend to be a little selfish. Let's keep it real.
Hold on.
And this man is paying everything in this house.
Hold on.
God forbid we break up. What is he? All right.
Hold on.
What is he even saving if he's spending everything? You don't care
about
what
Hold the thought. Go ahead.
So my question is, if you're going 50-50 with the finances, are you going 50-50 with everything else?
I don't mind that. Yes. I cook, you can clean.
And what if he's not okay going 50-50 with everything else?
What do you?
So let's say I was giving us.
Hold on a second. Most of the men I date are Caribbean men. So one thing they can do, they can cook, they can clean, they can do
Imagine
a woman can do in the house, and probably even better.
You yourself, you've had very long days at work where you had one of those days everyone's just pissing you off.
Okay.
It's just one of those days. You're going 50-50 with your man.
Okay.
Let's say you come home from that long day. You open the door. He got home like maybe, let's say, a couple hours earlier than you, and you were expecting that since because you guys are going 50-50, he's gonna maybe step in with the cooking, maybe you always cook and he cleans, but because you came home late, the expectation is maybe he would cook and then you would clean today. He looks at you like you're kind of crazy. Like
I will marry a man that will look at me kind of crazy in a situation like that.
You see, okay, so the experience that I'm coming from is I'm coming from very traditional African,
and I'm coming from a Caribbean background where
which it should align. Which you guys it should align though. Hold on. It should align. The two should align though because we're very similar. It should align. So hold on a second.
Caribbean man could cook better than half.
No, hold on. 50-50 on house chores.
I'm not talking about modern.
No,
talking
50-50 on house chores to me doesn't make sense. I think either party can do house chores. I think
exactly. I feel like
I don't think
babe, do the laundry.
You have to wait for your wife to cook, or you have to wait for. And I've seen it because I have a lot of I have a lot of African friends, Nigerians, Zambians, whatever, Ghanaians. A lot of times, especially like if I go to my a good friend of mine, he's a Nigerian doctor. Like sometimes they sit and they wait for the wife to serve them, right? I get that, right? To me, I'm not big on that. I can serve
and
myself.
I don't mind doing this catering to my man.
I understand culturally. I understand culture.
50-50.
Oh, fuck no.
So you're telling me, hold on. You're telling me
you
want to 50-50, you can't bring your man a plate of food?
No, I cannot. Listen, one thing I firmly believe and one thing, especially since, Black women.
We bring you a plate of food.
As back to the very beginning conversation we had about how Black women are very educated, high stats, how everything is beautiful. Yeah. One thing that we also forget to mention is let me even think about a way to I don't feel like a relationship can ever truly be 50-50, especially like with expectations, cultural expectations. It will never, ever, ever, ever be 50-50. I wouldn't even want to be 50-50. In order, if you
I think it depends on the situation.
Very high in your career, you move up in your career in corporate, you're getting on a corporate level, you have a lot of demands at work. It's going to be very difficult for you to manage being a high career woman to come home, manage being a high functioning
but that's where your man is automatically going to sense that he's going to pick up on where you're lacking. That's what's coming as a partnership.
The pick up where you're lacking, no. You just said cater to you. Those two contradict each other. I cannot be the best version of me to cater to you if I'm coming home. I'm splitting my expenses in half. We are splitting everything in half.
But he's doing the same to you.
And then at the end of the day, I'm still expected to be that full wife who caters to everything.
But he's doing the same for you.
No. Hold on a second. I think you guys have missed the point. I understand what you're saying. If you climb the corporate ladder, and it's vice versa, I think that when it comes to house chores, it should not be on one specific.
It shouldn't have a gender role.
Right. It should be gender role. I think that if you have, let's say you have kids, you already have kids. By the time let's say you get home at 6 o'clock, 7, he should already have the kids ready for bed, feed. You come home, you should have your dinner ready for you, maybe running water for you to take a bath.
And vice versa.
Right. It should be that way. It should not be like, okay, well, you know what? This is a gender role. This is for a woman. I'm not gonna cook. I'm not do the dishes. I'm gonna wait for her to do it. No, not today.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
No, I think what you're also missing what I'm trying to say. I grew up with a dad who did all of that. My dad was very hands-on. It didn't matter. He was the parent at home. He was gonna parent. Bath time, food, cooking, everything. He didn't wait for my mom to do anything.
That is correct. Yeah.
But with that, he was still the provider.
I never said a man can't be the provider.
No, my mom, no 50-50 is what I'm trying. First, let me start
with. But do you see what today life is life? And I'm trying. Go ahead.
Let me make my conclusion so that you understand where I'm standing.
Yes, go ahead.
I did not grow up in a 50-50 household, and I will not go into a 50-50 household.
Okay.
That's just the very bottom of it. I will not. And being 50-50 doesn't also, the man should, regardless, I feel like going 50-50 inside a relationship or inside a marriage, you are undermining your role as the woman. Like, I'm not even talking about catering to your man or anything, but you will go through so much. The least he can do is house chores, in addition to providing. Because otherwise, I feel like you're selling yourself up the short end of the stick. Like, a lot of things
so he's providing, he's doing the house chores. We're just going to work. You're just going to work.
I'm doing other things. That's what I'm saying. I feel like you're diminishing your role.
I'm not diminishing my role because
so other things like what? Okay, other things like what?
You're diminish. I feel like you diminish your role then as the woman when you think about it that way. I feel like you are the provider. You handle the foundation, which is the food, shelter, and everything. I can step in wherever you need me. I don't mind if I'm bringing in contributions towards that, but I will not contribute towards anything else. And in addition to that, you need to also be a kind human being and step in wherever. Vice versa, I will also step in wherever. So we both step in wherever, so we have our roles.
I'm confused.
So how would you know when to step in? Would you guys have these conversations?
Well, you can have you should definitely be very, involved in your finances, regardless of the partner. It's not just, oh, I give you all the money, you pay all the bills. You need to be transparent and involved. So whether it's monthly finance meetings where you sit down as a family and you're like, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, this is the future plan, blah, blah, blah. Find a way to, and check in with each other. This month, I'm overwhelmed. I have a lot going on with work, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you know what? Maybe I was supposed to pick up the kids. You know what? I got the kids this month. Find a way to check in if it's truly that partnership that you're claiming.
But what you're still saying is what I said. You guys are still going half.
We are going half, but finances is never part of the half is what I'm trying. That's the part I don't mind going but finances is never part of that half, because as the man, you need to want to make sure that we are provided for. That should be inborn in you. Like, it should be second nature to you.
So hold on a second. So I don't know where to get this. And again, social media again is crazy. Why are we even looking at it 50-50? What is 50-50? There are going to be times where it's going to be 90-10.
Of course.
I agree. There are going to be times where I'm going to have to pick up and I might have to pay the whole 100. And I don't mind because you got me and I got you.
Two things social media got wrong in our community, and I think that they're running with it, is this 6 figures, 100,000, because no one is saying whether it's gross or net. All you keep saying is 100,000, and it sounds so stupid because most of the times it makes like they don't understand the difference between gross and net income, right? So I need a guy that makes $100,000, right? So there are gonna be times in relationships.
Need a kind man. To hell with this shit.
You're gonna have times in relationships whereas, listen, it's gonna be 90-10. 72. There's no 50-50, no relationship.
And I agree with that because I don't mind picking up times where he's
but listen,
where he's all the way off.
If you guys
I got it, we got it. That's just my thing.
Listen,
this is why we're here, because we have different opinions.
No, but true.
If I got it,
it's cultural.
My man got it, and I hope my man feels the same way. If he got it, I got it.
Culturally, I grew up. I grew up. My dad, doing his stuff. But again, my mom being in the medical field, she just basically, obviously, medical field, she was making, much more money. But it's not to say that my dad was not being around or doing what needs to get done. He was there. And, when my mom migrated to America, he was still taking care of us, and we were like young at that time too as well. So he was still doing his part. It was never an aspect of 50-50, 70-30, because I would think that at that point in time, he was doing majority of everything, right? And my mom was basically, working here in the middle, right? She was in the working, working.
But in this time, I'm saying we're both sharing all of it. There's no gender role. This is what I am saying. There's no gender role in the home that I'm in.
America set us up to
my husband should be able to go up and do homework with the kids. My husband should be able to mop the floor sometimes. My husband should be able to cook. I date Caribbean men. And every Caribbean man that I've dated are able to do all these things I'm talking about. This is why I don't mind the 50-50. Because there's times, going back to my ex, when I dated the father of my children, there's times I come home, the dinner's served, the kids already showered, because I had a long day and he's home early. So I don't mind. And in addition to that, he's a kind man. He's a generous man. He's a great father. He's a great provider. So it wasn't no thought of, hey, going 50-50, because at this point, you're not even thinking about 50-50 because everything is just so equal automatically. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so
When he will
I've
come
dated.
home,
So
the
listen,
food is
coming from
cooked, the house is
yeah.
clean, the kids. We just split the roles sometimes.
I agree.
But we grew up with different cultural background.
No, I agree with you 100% on what you're saying. I'm just saying that
with the finance.
Keep the finances out of that 50-50.
But here why I don't mind the 50-50. And I'm going to tell you why. If I am dating you, ATL, there's no 50-50 because your income skyrockets mine. But if I'm making 100,000, my man is making 100,000. I don't mind going 50-50.
Hold on. Is this going on YouTube?
Yes, it is going on YouTube. Don't worry.
So listen. Like I've dated, like your friend said, like you said, I dated Caribbean women, Guyanese women, African women, But I think that when you sit and you listen to you have a conversation during the relationship, it's not much of a difference culturally wise. I think that we are the same in aspect.
We got to live in reality of today's reality. Today.
Like at first, everyone was saying like, oh, it's going to be very a cultural shock when you date an African woman. Yes, I've dated women from Zambia, Nigeria, so it's Egyptian, but it all depends on Caribbean women, guys. And the thing about it too is like, I guess again, it's I don't know why is it that, and I understand what your friend what she's
saying.
Right, she's saying and it makes a lot of sense thinking about it. Take the financial aspect out of it, right? Don't bring that in the 50-50 aspect of it. Just take that out of the ratio. Just let everything else like the housework or whatever. But what I'm saying, even if you take it out, it's never going to always be 50-50. That's just
because the women, we're nurturer. We're going to take on more role. I get it.
Of course.
But if I have a trying man that's helping me, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
You guys take on too much roles, and I think sometimes like
I'm not gonna let society tell me how to be a woman, a wife, or a woman in my relationship. If I feel me and my man both making 100,000, I want to go 50-50, I don't mind. If my man is making 200,000, I'm making 100,000, there's no way I'm going 50-50. I just think if we're similar and we're close when it comes to your finance, I don't mind. Because in today's society, life is life, and I don't care what nobody says. Unless my man and I were making the same amount, he said, babe, I got it all, then that's on you, baby. But I don't mind helping. I don't mind going 50-50. But I'm not going 50-50 with your ass. Okay? There's a big difference.
Okay.
I am going 30 while you're going 70. I am going 25 while you're going... Yes. I am going 20 while you're going 80. I just think if we're similar in our income, I don't mind. I don't mind.
So let me ask.
But if there's a big gap, it's not 50-50.
Okay, let me ask your friend right now. Are your parents still working or are they retired?
My parents are still working. My mom is retired. My dad is still working.
Okay. So that's even better for my question. So now that your mom is retired, she's on a fixed income, correct?
No. Well, sure.
Yeah, because she's not getting a salary. She's on a fixed income, right? Whether it's Social Security pension, whatever, but that is still working.
Yes, that is still working.
Right. So in a situation like that, let's say the roles were flipped. Dad was retired on a fixed income, mom was still working, right? Who would have been basically the breadwinner at that point in time? Would it still be dad?
I'm assuming that before you went on retirement, you would have looked at the family expenses and said, based off of our expenses, now is the time I can afford to retire. If now is not the time, I expect you to continue working until you can. So you will still be the breadwinner during retirement. Correct.
Got it. Okay. Good. Reasonable point of view to look at it. No, it's a reasonable point of view.
I just feel like there's a lot of, in my perspective, especially knowing the kind of wife I aspire to be, marriage will never be 50-50. especially once that role of wife comes in, the way the above and beyond is just naturally ingrained and kind of like.
But we're both going above and beyond.
We're both going above and beyond, but just knowing what the way that I want to be a wife, I know personally if I went 50-50 with a man, I would struggle a bit to respect you. And so to prevent that, I don't even think we should even cross. And what I've learned about, this is not all men, but I'm speaking about certain kinds of African men, yeah. What you allow in the beginning becomes the foundation of your marriage later on.
Are you dating right now, may I ask you?
I'm not dating at the moment.
Okay.
But I've learned that a lot with African men, what you allow in the beginning, it becomes the foundation of the tears you later on you complain and you cry about.
And you think that's only African men though, or you think as men on a whole?
I haven't really gone too much outside, I think that's men of the, so I can't really say that's men as a whole.
So you've only dated Ghanaian men?
I dated African men.
Only African men.
But only African men.
And I've dated Caribbean and African men.
And so me knowing that what I allow now, if I go eat, I don't mean easy, but if I become too tolerant, you know what? I'll give you an example, yeah. I have a girlfriend. She's dating a guy. They were both in school at the time that they were dating. They graduated, masters now, money's coming in. They went 50-50 in the beginning of the relationship because obviously it made sense. They were both students. It made sense. Now he's making $70,000 more than her. He doesn't see the need as to why they need to reevaluate the 50-50
and change. That's an African man. And what you said earlier, but African men.
Hold on. Let me hear this. Let me hear her finish.
He doesn't see the need as to why he needs to like change it and maybe do like 65, 35 now because he's like, if it was working then, let's keep it working. So just knowing, and now he's become complacent with like how things, and she's now still doing everything. Meanwhile, he makes so much more. And so
but that's not what I was talking about.
So is it the 70,000 more that he's making, right?
He's making 70,000 more than her.
Right. So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. With the 70,000 more that he's making more than her, right? Because you said before they were at 50-50.
Correct.
So $70,000 he's making more, right? Instead of going 60-40, 70-30, is he taking that 70,000? Because if everything was working fine before the 70,000, is he taking that 70,000 and investing it or saving it?
We don't know what he's doing because he's not saying anything.
See, right? Yeah. See, that's a communication.
Exactly, and that's the problem in relationship communication.
No. Let's say you and I dating. We are making hold on a second. Yeah. Like you said, right, we're making $150,000 each, right? And I went up additional 50. I'm making 200. You're making 150, right? And everything was working when we were both making 150. The communication, and when we were making 300, the communication is this now. I just got a raise, $50,000. We're okay. We've been saving whatever. This $50,000, I'm gonna set aside. I'm putting it in an investment account, and every time I get paid, the extra we're gonna write it like that. That's the communication. That's what you.
And that's understandable.
That's
or the next thing
that's how you grow.
Take on more.
Let him make his point. Please continue.
I'm sorry.
Please continue.
Yeah. So that's basically what you do when you're in a committed relationship, right? Instead of, because everything was working out, he or she could have come and said, hey, you know, I made an extra $50,000 because you said you don't know what he's doing with it. You could invest that $50,000, increase your wealth, right? Because if you don't have the need for it, and it goes back to when I was working corporate America, when I looked at every time I pay, after I get paid and I pay my mortgage, I pay this, I always have a lump sum money still laid back. I'm not going to go to the clubs and hang out and do bottles because I always feel like that's a waste of time. Not to say whoever does it, it's fine. And then I would just basically just try to invest more and more and more, because I always feel like if you have extra money, especially our community, we tend to splurge it on foolish items, right? So frivolous items. But people may say, well, okay, that's just me or whatever. Like, I look back at a lot of times and I say, you make an extra little bit of money, you should invest it, whether it's the stock market or real estate. But for that said, you said you don't know what he's doing with it, and that's a conversation that they should have together, because they're not fools. They're very educated people.
Exactly, but there's lack of communication in that relationship.
Yes.
However, even if he's not investing or putting aside that extra 70,000, that's when the 50-50 becomes 20-80. or 40-60, because I'm not going to spend 50-50 if my man's making a whole 70,000 extra. I said it depends. I never said I was a fool. I said it depends on the circumstances and what we are both bringing home.
So I think this is where, because this is where we agree to disagree. So I will make my points final again.
Okay, I don't care. And we're gonna wrap it up for tonight.
I don't care how much more you are making. Your job is to provide a roof over my head and food for the family. If you can't do that,
I agree.
Meet me at my father's house and go our separate ways. Yeah?
I agree.
Once we get inside that marriage and you decided that you have enough money to put food on the table and roof over the head, I don't mind contributing to wherever you need me, but I will not be thinking day and night, how am I going to get more money for my family? That is your job and your job alone. My goal is how else I can help better the family in other ways, how to diversify, how to spread our seeds across different lands, but your job is that responsibility of what is my family going to eat? Where is my family going to sleep? I will not contribute, neither will I help. I will just watch you. And one thing I've also learned about men, is not only I don't want to promote complacency, but I want you to, wherever you're meeting me at in life, I want you to be motivated to just do better. Where my parents met, my dad is not where he met my mom. He is much, much more higher. And he told us throughout his lifetime that he sat down and realized that if he wanted to afford my mom, he was going to have to do drastic things. He made those drastic things in order for her to be where she is and for her to be able to be the wife that she is, because he knows what it's like to have her pour into his life. So if you want me to pour into your life and spread the seeds across multiple lands for it to grow and flourish, I believe you'll be motivated to find the money, provide, take care of the family, and I'm not contributing a dime or a cent. That is the end.
Let me ask you one more question. Hold on a second. Do you have brothers?
I do have brothers. I do.
I would love to know what is their take, especially in today's environment. Well, I don't know how old they are, but if they're older and dating, right? I would really like to know what are their, because I have a lot of thoughts in reference to what you just said, because you may have a different perspective from what they may have because they're out there seeing what is out there and dating, right? Because you obviously got a little bit, right? Much more than women. Women just basically, and you said you did it.
Of course.
And guys, everybody have to give their final thoughts. We're gonna wrap it up.
That's a very beautiful question. My brothers are all in their 30s. They're older men. The beautiful thing about my brothers is they still have that provider mindset. They are not gonna go 50-50 with their women. I had a brother, my one of the brothers I'm really close to, he had that nonsensical idea of 50-50 in his head. I cut it out of his mind. I said, we did not raise you like that. We are not going like that. And I do not want to hear that nonsense out of your mouth again. A relationship will never be 50-50. And just because you've been in this strange land, you will not, and he's out of it now. Thank God.
But he's dating African women, though. He's
dating African women. But what I told him is just because a woman has that doesn't mean that you have to go spend all your money on women. That's not the message that I'm saying. I'm not saying that if I date a guy, I'm expecting him to like buy me a house. But no. I'm not a gold digger. I am a Ghanaian woman, though. We're not gold diggers. But
I don't know what that means. Okay, hold on. Stop.
He's just not messing with a broke.
Just get it together. Just get it together. And I always tell that to my brother that, hey, get it together. I know society is not easy on a man. I wouldn't want my brother to be pressured by a woman. My goal is not to be out here to be pressured, like to pressure you, but take this time while you're single, you're not dating, to find a way to get it together so that when you get in that relationship, you won't even have to have these discussions. No, because you know what you are as the provider and you'll just naturally follow and take care of a woman. But doesn't mean that you should go and spend your money carelessly on women because you're the provider. No, spend wisely. When you find that woman that you're like, oh, this is the one that I want to, I can tell that then you go ahead and you go all out. Don't be stinginess does no.
Maybe that's where your friend's 70,000 is going on another woman. You never know.
You see, that's another thing we were always taught. If you don't spend a man's money, he will find another woman to spend it on. So spend the money. No. Don't go 50-50 and live a beautiful life.
No one spends mine.
We can change that. You need help with that?
No.
All right, ATL. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, ATL. We're gonna give our final thoughts for the night.
All right, I'll just give my final thoughts. So the rest
is ATL. What's your final thoughts?
No, I think she summed it up correctly, perfectly. I think that I think we just need to move away. I get it because it's cultural. Everybody's gonna look at it differently. I think that when you look at it at um the continent of Africa, the Caribbean, America, I think culturally it's going to be different, right? Everyone going to look at things differently, but you have to respect how they, because
Correct.
because my dad was also basically the breadwinner. We look at it differently, how we summarize things. We need to just move away from this whole 50-50 aspect of social media. It's never going to always be 50-50, and we always have to move away from I need a man that makes six figures or $100,000 a year, because you have to break down what $100,000 a year is, right, on paper. Because obviously I'm a numbers guy. I have to understand when you say, "Oh, I need a man make 100,000." Is it gross or net? Because one or the other doesn't. The two is not the same. So, and this whole idea of what we bring to the table, all that stuff has to go. If you're in a committed relationship and you guys are meant to be and you guys are working towards a better cause, then you'll do things together and not even look
Correct.
50-50. I've
Correct.
done things and I've even looked at basically what 50-50 is, because listen, my whole thing is, you know what, at the end of the day, we are
When
grinding.
a man is really into a woman,
Right.
he doesn't care what
Right.
she
I'm not
brings to the
interested in
table.
all of
If
that.
a man
Like,
asks you that, just slap him, because
yeah,
that discussion is useless. It's very useless discussion
yeah.
you bring to the
I
table.
once told a guy that when he asked me, "What do you bring to
Did
the
you
table?"
slap him?
No, and I said that's the dumbest question you can ask.
Should I slapped him?
You know,
Yeah.
so
Don't,
like
don't
I
act like,
said,
you know, so anyway, Renita, you wrap it up.
yes. I want to thank you guys for tonight's discussion. We had an amazing conversation. I enjoyed the value of different opinions, I must say, without any issues. And it's a wrap, guys. Thank you. And thank you to my first
See you next
guest.
Friday. Are we doing next Friday?
No. My co-host will be traveling
Oh,
all
and
month of November.
and your acting co-host will not be here because that's
Exactly.
that's my birthday. So
But I do want to say this.
Birthday.
You know, at the end of today's discussion, whether a man earns more or less or the same as his partner, security in a relationship comes from respect,
I agree.
trust, love, and not just money. We hope tonight discussion brought some insights to everyone.
For sure.
And peace, love, and soul.
I like that T-shirt. Maybe next time we all gonna wear that T-shirt.
Social media do kill romance, man, because
Yes, that's
everybody
true.
wants to. Everybody see the the glitz and glamour, but don't know what happened behind closed doors. So
And then next
want
time,
to have good communication, the
we gonna wear
love,
the
the
same T-shirt.
respect, and if two people are willing to do it and want to make it, hey. But thank you guys for joining me.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Bye.